K-pop music show performances are one of the most anticipated parts of promotions. However, many fans might not realize exactly how many rules are set in place for the idols attending these shows. While K-pop is often associated with high-energy, edgy performances, there's a surprisingly strict rule when it comes to male idols showing skin, specifically their chests. Korean broadcasting standards demand that male idols avoid showing more than one side of their pecs at a time, as having both is apparently pushing boundaries. This rule has led to some memorable onstage accidents, as it can sometimes be very hard to keep clothing in line while performing. When BTS first burst onto the scene in 2013, their bold and intense performances helped set them apart. In one now famous incident on KBS's Music Bank, BTS member RM had what fans called a slip while performing their concept trailer. With the performance having some quite intense moves, RM tore off his jacket only to realize that he'd accidentally ripped his tank top too. And because of the music show rules, RM had to spend the rest of the performance slyly attempting to cover one side of his chest so as to not break the rule further. However, despite his best efforts, fans spotted the accident, and it has since turned into an iconic moment for many BTS fans. But male idols aren't the only ones held to weird standards, as their rule is almost as surprising as the one for female idols, since they are prohibited from showing their belly button on screen. While this might be a very strange rule to international audiences, South Korea takes it very seriously, as the Communication Standards Commission enforced a ban on belly buttons on 3 major networks: SBS, NBC, and KBS. Along with the existing restrictions on cleavage, this rule became a strict part of the broadcasting guidelines, especially affecting younger idols. For K-pop stylists and wardrobe teams, this restriction means that they have to rely heavily on high-waisted bottoms and creative layering, especially for performances involving teenage idols. This rule was applied across the board, but it was particularly strict for underage idols to ensure that their outfits stayed appropriate by broadcasting standards. We've seen many examples of young artists having to especially bend to this rule. For example, when GFriend debuted on SBS's Inkigayo in 2015, most of the members were still in high school, and their stylists opted for high-waisted pants to avoid any issues. Some idols even reportedly took extra steps by taping over their belly buttons just in case a top rode up unexpectedly. Fans often debate whether these restrictions are outdated or overly restrictive, given that K-pop idols frequently wear more revealing outfits in music videos and concerts. However, South Korean television regulations remain rooted in the idea of maintaining a certain level of public decency on air, especially given that K-pop music shows air at times when young audiences are tuning in. Korean music shows have more than just strict dress codes for idols. They also have serious rules when it comes to lyrics and dance moves. Swearing on TV is, not surprisingly, off limits. However, even lyrics that get too suggestive are banned from broadcast where family-friendly content is the standard. Because of this, idols often have to modify their lyrics if there's any questionable language. G-Dragon famously ran into this issue back in 2012. He was forced to change the lyrics of his song That XX while performing on SBS's Inkigayo, as it included a curse word which he simply changed to the letter X to avoid breaking the rule. These adjustments help songs make it onto TV, but fans have sometimes spoken up about how the censored versions can lose a bit of the song's original vibe. The rules don't just stop at swearing. Lyrics with any hint of suggestive content are also heavily censored on music shows. One of the most famous examples is TVXQ's hit song Mirotic, where one line forced them to change the song to make sure they comply with the broadcasting rules. The line "I got you under my skin" was deemed too suggestive, so they changed it to "I chose you under my sky" to fit the clean requirements. While the changes allowed TVXQ to perform the song at the Golden Disc Awards, fans felt that the rewrites altered the song's original intensity. Dance routines aren't allowed to get too bold either, as idols might risk getting cut off camera entirely. Because of these rules, there have been some quite interesting changes in songs and choreography over the years in order to be allowed to showcase some idols' performances, as choreography that's deemed too provocative is often modified or outright banned. Hyuna is a well-known example of an artist who's faced these restrictions. In a 2020 appearance on Radio Star, she explained that when she shows too much skin, like in sleeveless outfits, she's told to cover up more. To follow these guidelines, Hyuna even went as far as creating an alternative music video for TV broadcast that showed mostly close-up shots of her face instead of full-body dance moves. But even this was criticized for being too suggestive because of her intense gaze. Another group that faced issues with choreography is DSP Media's Rainbow. In 2010, they performed their song called A, and the choreography included a fun move where they lifted their shirts to reveal their abs. However, the KCSC found the move too suggestive and banned it on TV. Rainbow's performance had to be re-choreographed, but the original move became iconic among fans. These strange rules make it clear that image is everything, and maintaining a clean look on television is a huge part of that. Because of this, K-pop idols face another surprising restriction. They aren't allowed to show their tattoos on South Korean television. Even though tattoos are becoming more popular among young people in Korea and around the world, this rule stems from Korea's complex relationship with tattoos, which are still often considered taboo. In South Korea, tattoos are viewed differently than in many other countries. Because of Korean law, tattooing is technically classified as a medical procedure. This means that legally, tattoo artists are required to have a medical degree. For most tattoo artists, getting a medical degree just to be able to tattoo is extremely unrealistic. So many tattoo studios operate in secret or under the radar, which has kept the industry somewhat hidden. Tattoos are also still associated with certain negative stereotypes, including connections to gang activity, and while these views are slowly changing, with the younger generations breaking taboos, there's still a long way to go before mainstream TV removes these restrictions. When K-pop idols get tattoos, they often go to these hidden studios, which is why showing them on TV is such a big no-no. This can be tricky for idols who love their body art. Many fans have noticed that idols with visible tattoos, like BTS's Jungkook, cover their ink with makeup, bandages, or special clothing whenever they appear on music shows. This helps them follow the rules, but it often leaves fans disappointed, as tattoos can be an important part of an idol's personal style and self-expression. One side effect of this rule is that K-pop stylists and wardrobe teams have had to become very creative. From long sleeves and gloves to strategically placed accessories, idols manage to hide their tattoos in ways that work with their performance looks, and it's even become a bit of a fun game for fans to try and spot the outlines of idols' tattoos, as they sometimes show through fabric or behind their cover-ups. For an agency, getting their idols onto a music show in the first place can also be a complicated and high-stakes process, as the broadcasting networks have some quite strict rules and guidelines. This is all happening because of the hierarchy behind the music show productions, as the top are chief producers who manage multiple programs, including music shows, and have the final say on who gets to perform and who doesn't. Below them are the producers or PDs who run the individual music shows themselves. For a K-pop agency, getting on the good side of both the CP and PD is key. Since music shows still hold a lot of influence in helping rookie idols gain recognition, agencies are often willing to do whatever it takes to get their idols a spot, even if it means making binding deals with the networks. One of the most common ways to secure a spot on a music show is through what is known as give-and-take agreements. For example, if an agency has a new or lesser-known group they want to promote, they might have to go as far as promising to let one of their top stars appear on a different variety show or drama produced by the same network. This is why big idols might appear on some lesser-known shows on the broadcasting network. Unfortunately, this system isn't a win-win situation for everyone. Music shows are actually expensive for idols and agencies. A single appearance can cost thousands of dollars in expenses for styling, choreography, meals, backup dancers, and transportation. When you add it up, 4 weeks of promotion on music shows can cost as much as around $84,000. And in return, idols aren't paid very much for appearing and performing. Most groups receive only around $250 per appearance, which is barely enough to cover even a fraction of their expenses. Because these shows have low ratings and don't bring in much advertising money, they can't afford to pay idols more even if they want to. The networks are already aware that music shows aren't profitable for agencies, but they still use their power to maintain influence over idol groups. If an agency decides not to have any of its idols appear on music shows, they risk being shut out from other more popular network programs like Running Man or King of Masked Singer, which makes these deals absolutely necessary for idol promotion. Anyways, this creates a vicious cycle as agencies feel pressured to comply with music show rules because they don't want to lose access to the network's entire lineup of shows, which, as a result, would severely limit their idols' exposure. In the end, agencies are forced to work within a strict system where they have to negotiate, compromise, and even sacrifice their profits just to get their idols a few precious minutes of screen time. For smaller agencies, this kind of pressure can be overwhelming, but as many simply don't have any other option, they often feel they have to play by the rules no matter how unfair they may seem. Despite the strict rules that begin with getting idols on the shows in the first place, K-pop companies are still more than happy to send their idols for several weeks of promotion where some of these strict rules stand strong.